I finally got the right one. It threads on, all that stuff. I'm gonna make this hose, but some new stuff showed up in the mail. We got this, which I did have that other one. This one's different. This one actually comes with its own little control box. It's got its own little dial. That way you can literally just control it the way you want. So the one that's stock is gonna be how much AC you want, and this one's gonna be how much heat you want out of the car. And then we got a battery. This is a battery box from our friends over at Hush Performance. Robert over there has spent a lot of time making little modular pieces for these Honda swaps. And I do say modular because you can take these tabs, put them on the other side, it'll bolt up however you want to put them on there. And this battery can go on the outside of the frame, on the inside of the frame, on the driver's side, on the passenger side, wherever. And this thing has, it doesn't look like it, but it has 680 pulse cranking amps, somewhere in that range. Yeah, there it is. So the pulse cranking amps are for like 3 seconds. It has 680. So your car better be a good running car. None of those strugglers, you know? But this little guy, we're going to mount up under here. And you can turn the battery any which way. So we might turn it around so the negative's on this side and the positive's on that side. Then he sends the riv nuts to mount this. He sends the bolts for everything to go in here. And I got these for it. So these are little jump points. So they're going to go on the inside in the engine bay, and they're going to be covered. That way, you know, we don't have any kind of voltage going around or any kind of, you know, sparks or whatever. But this is so that you can hook it up without taking off the bumper and still jump the car if you need to. But we shouldn't have to because I got him one of these. So this is from ChargeSafe, and it's a magnetic charger. So this is going to mount somewhere on the car. I get to pick where I get to mount it. It comes with a certain length of wire. So we have, oh, you know, we're a little bit limited on where it goes, but we're going to mount it somewhere so it's nice and kind of tucked away. You don't have to see it. And then when he's done with it, goes and drives the car, he can cap it off. But when he gets home, he can just hook it up, plug it in, and not worry about it. And it'll be charged with a trickle charger. I'm going to make the AC lines and finish those now that I have every single fitting for it. And then we're going to start getting the heater control valve set up because, well, I want to finish the heater lines too. Battery is coming up, and then I still got to make the box and stuff. So we're moving right along with this thing, and I'm really happy about it. I have a couple of them actually done. So this one's coming from the cylinder head on this side, going to our little valve, which I'm going to make a bracket for it to be roughly around here. And then we have the one that goes from the water tube, where our little welded piece is on, all the way over here. And actually you can see I have this, and you know, one of these is not like the other, but I made this. So we have a brand new heater core here, and I welded on some AN fittings so that we could just put them on and call it a day. So we'll have to take the dash out here in a little bit, but I'm still waiting on something before doing that. Making the little bracket for this will be priority right now. That way I can make the line that's supposed to mate up with this lower one. I was able to get the battery mounted. So this is the Hush kit. It is very rigid on there. It does come with little bolts for the wires that go on there. I'll be running the wires here in a little bit, or when I get around to it. You know, we're going to the starter, we're going to the fuse box, so on and so forth from the battery. Ground is really just being really good to the chassis, and we're going to have the these two go up to our little jump terminals. I'm thinking about putting these somewhere in this realm. You know, depends on which. I'm probably going to be positive towards the front, but I'm thinking about just doing a 3D printed piece. That way we can have this, our 3D printed cover, and then it'll bolt on and these will slot into it. That might be the easiest way to go about it, but I guess in that sense we're going to have to define easy. All right, I made some cardboard. We have the bracket, or the thing that I'm going to use to design the bracket for the heater control valve. I put in some riv nuts here for these two. It's still a giant square. I'm gonna pretty it up, but with how this is and the tension and stuff on it, I think I'm just gonna go over to Dave's and cut it out of some steel. Over here, I made a little bracket for the jump terminals. I actually want to show you, I tested it just to make sure, because they do seem kind of close, but I have these, which are a little bulky for jumpers, and you can easily put both of them on there. So this is going to go around here. I'm going to take them out so I can just set the plate up against it and, you know, figure out how I want to set it in there. We still have the box for the intercooler reservoir to make, which actually right there in the box, I have the pump for it. I'm going to make the bracket to mount this pump somewhere. So either the pump will be next to it or anywhere else on this car, but we're going to find out where. I was able to get the AC lines completed, and I brought over the AC machine, threw that on, hooked it up, did a vacuum on the system to get it down into whatever inches of vacuum, inches of mercury that it does. And then I left it for a 5-minute vacuum test. And it had a straight line. That's exactly what you want to see. The system is sealed. At this point, the system is ready to be filled. We're gonna hold off on that because we got a lot more stuff to do. It at least tells me that the AC lines I made and this whole system are ready for refrigerant and ready for the compressor to turn on. Next is going to be mounting our little pump for the water to air intercooler. I kind of came up with this idea because it's a 3/4 inch barb fitting, and you know, it's not super under pressure. It's not like the heating system or whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get some AN fittings. I'm going to make a tube off of it, shorten the hose a little bit, and then just have it clamp onto that, and then I have my AN fittings, and I have the line. This one actually goes to the top of the intercooler. That'll be coming from the pump. Actually, we might do it to the bottom. We'll see. I think the bottom might be better. That way it kind of just like gets out all the bubbles, and it's not, you know, we're not giving the intercooler a shower, you know. We want it to push up, out, that way there's no bubbles in the intercooler, which is also why we mounted it vertical for the inlet and outlet versus sideways, which was, you know, whatever, how many ever moon ago, we're not going to say how long ago when I did the first one. But I'm kind of thinking about mounting it on the side here in some way, shape, or form. And then this will be, like, I'm going to get one with 2 females on it. That way it can just be clamped, you know, just a U right here, and have the pump on the side. And then we'll have this one with our little hose fitting coming off of it and another fitting here. I got the hoses on, and it ended up being a little longer than I thought it was going to be. So I had to play around with where I was going to put it, which also had me put the bumper on, the inner fender, so that I could kind of just have everything sitting there, and I would know exactly where it needed to be or how much room I have. So I'll show you right now, but with the bumper on and stuff like that, I was able to figure out where it's supposed to go. So my original plan was putting it up here because it does have some room. It has probably like this much room inside the bumper or more. But putting it here, this is too far over, and this is decently close to the edge of the bumper, and I don't want this rubbing on the hose. So then putting it back this far, just kind of not really what I wanted to do. So I was thinking about putting it on this side, but then I had to know where everything was. And right now I have this. This is kind of like a guide because I don't have the fitting there, but we're going to use that as how thick the fitting is. So with that sitting underneath and this sitting over here, we can actually have this come forward and the hose will go down in that way. And then this will mate underneath here. We'll see how that'll go because it's actually going to be really close to the edge there. But I'm kind of happy with this because this hole is actually for the inner fender. And if I put that inner fender up, kind of shove this thing back in there where it's supposed to be. We have enough room, and that just means that it would hit the inner fender before it hit the pump, which, you know, we shouldn't be hitting the inner fender with any of the tires that we put on it, because, you know, we're going to measure. I'm sorry.
What a brilliant...
Yeah, so, I mean, you know, measuring it. You cut 3 times and measure after, right? That's what you don't measure before you cut. I want to show you guys something. I've been messing with a 3D printer, and I'm kind of happy with what I came up with, only because I didn't want to spend the money on the guys that actually make the thing that I made. So if you guys remember on one of the older videos where we 3D printed a new throttle body, you know, positioner, I guess what you want to call it, or adapter, it moved so that the pipe that I did make for it is no longer mating up properly. It, you know, it's angled wrong or whatever because of how the throttle body had to be twisted from what we did it before. So they actually sell these things out there. You can go, you know, buy them or something like that, but it's a pie cutting jig. And so I made this one, which it ran out of material. There's supposed to be more here. It's supposed to look like this, but it doesn't. But I just need it to work and get me to have accurate pie cuts, because I've done other videos where we're like, okay, this is how you do a pie cut, or this is how you measure for one. This is kind of foolproof. I did these 2 pie cuts as tests, and essentially what it is, I've cut this, right? It's just cut straight, this mark is straight and all that stuff. So now I would loosen it, and as you can see, the pipe is actually angled in here. So we'll loosen it a little bit. And I'm sure the ones that they actually make out there are engineered way better and not needing as much care. But we're gonna take the pipe, shove it forward, right? And so you'll turn it 180 degrees until the edges stop. So they're gonna butt up against that side, and that'll tell you that it's 180, and then you cut, and you do another 180 turn, and cut, and then you get pie cuts that are the same each time, because you're literally just putting it into a stop, and next cut, move it to the stop. It makes it so much easier than how I was doing it before. This is the pipe that I'm going to be redoing. It's close, but not close enough. Thanks for watching. There's some more stuff to do, hopefully a lot more welding coming up. I need to reach out because we're trying to get the power steering stuff sorted out for this car. Like, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff.